We're going to talk about your company, Hub Culture, which I suspect a lot of people don't know about, but you're doing very interesting things, particularly in the world of currency. Tell us a little bit about the company.
Okay, so Hub Culture is a social network. It was one of the very first social networks to kind of arrive on the scene all the way back in 2002, so it's almost 10 years old. But it grew in a very different way from other social networks because it was always an invite organized scenario, and it was geared around creating live connections among the members of the community. And so over time, we created a series of events and activities that were designed to bring those people together face to face. And it appealed to a very particular kind of person, effectively the idea of globalized people. So people who lived in hubs in the world's great cities and who tended to move and travel between those places. So some of the first post-national communities. And that community came out of a book that I wrote in 2002 that sort of examined what those psychographics were like.
And the book was called?
Hub Culture.
Hub Culture.
Yeah, so the Hub Culture was a book, and then it became a community.
And if you continue to do those events and that
Well,
kind
so
of
those
interaction?
events and activities have evolved over time. So in 2005-06, we actually started producing longer-term projects that we began calling pavilions, and those actually became permanent locations. So we now have a network of both pop-up and permanent locations called pavilions, and they provide collaboration services and the ability for members to come together and connect and to work together.
How many locations are there?
We've done 16 locations over the last 4 years in places as diverse as Rio and Venice and Cancun and London and New York and LA, mostly as pop-ups. And then we have a permanent space in London that sort of comes and goes as well. And we have about 5 or 6 on the docket for the next coming year. So there's an online system that sort of geolocates the hub to a location, and so we can open it and then sort of shrink it back down and then open it again in a different physical space. So the physicality is interchangeable, but it all works off of the same network.
And so how many people are actually involved in the network?
There's about 25,000 people in the community, and it's growing, obviously. So we're adding people every day.
Okay. Now you're doing something, you've moved in a kind of an interesting direction. Talk a little bit about what you're doing with this alternative
With
currency called VEN.
Yeah, so the pavilions operate on a virtual currency called VEN, and we created the VEN because we had all these people from different countries, and we were doing projects and wanted to exchange value with them, but we couldn't do it in a cohesive way because you had people in 50 countries, and quite honestly, we were too lazy to try and figure out pricing in 50 currencies for all these people. So we were like, we really need our own currency. And so we basically created the VEN so that we would have a single global price for activities that we were doing in the community. And once we did that, which was in 2007, we started on this very exciting and interesting journey around the kind of DNA of money. And over time, we've discovered that you can tweak the DNA of money to create different outcomes for a currency. So the VEN started out with no exchange rate, and then it took an exchange rate of 10 to the dollar, and then it went to a float, so it became the first virtual currency to be backed by or priced from a basket of currencies and commodities, and then we added carbon futures. So adding carbon made it the world's first green currency, and it became the first currency that has carbon embedded into the DNA of basically the basket. So what that means is that as you scale VEN and use it for more and more different things, the currency becomes kind of linked to investments in carbon. Because if you have, say, 100 million VEN out in the market, that means that you're going to have roughly $10 million of reserve assets that you're holding to back the VEN. And a portion of that then has to be invested into the carbon.
So I want to understand what I can do when I've got a pocket full of VEN, right? So I've got a pocket full of VEN, but I need a gallon of milk.
The important thing is that you can send VEN to someone else. So this is fundamentally peer-to-peer currency, and
so it's a digital transaction.
Right, and so this enables you and me, if you wash my car, I can send you VEN, and if you walk my dog, or if I walk your dog, you can send me VEN. So we have the ability for transactional exchange at the peer-to-peer level. So this is a wealth creator for us, because in our community, we can take, say, $10 100 Ven approximately, put that into the economy, and then we can exchange that among each other, and we can actually create, let's just say, $1,000 worth of wealth between us, because I can send my 100 Ven to you, and then you can send it to that person, and then that person can send it back to you, and then you can send it to me. Well, each of one of those exchanges with your original $10 creates 10, 20, 30, $40 worth of value. So it actually becomes a wealth magnifier within the community
But
of
isn't
people
that
who are
true in
using
conventional currency as well? I mean,
well, it is, but within conventional currencies, the economy is so large that it's gone, and it takes a long time for you to see that back. So we are constantly seeking to improve the liquidity of Ven, and one of the things that improves liquidity is to actually have more things to sell. So you cannot exchange your Ven back to dollars, because that could cause problems around money laundering or other things like that. And so you have to know your customer, and we have to look at transactions as they're coming through the platform. But we're trying to create more and more things that you can buy with Ven, so that Ven feels more real. And so this is Ven Gold, which is basically, what you would think this is a currency,
Right.
but this is actually jewelry. So this is
and these
a gold product.
are these solid gold?
Yeah,
Or
these are solid gold, 22 karat coins that are now available for sale from Hub. So you can go and buy your Ven, or possibly earn your Ven, and then you can translate that Ven through a purchase on the platform into Ven Gold. Because it's priced and sold in Ven, it actually has a carbon offset attached to the gold itself. So the net price of the gold remains the same as other gold, but this gold is basically better for the environment than other gold. So
And
that's
so-
potentially
And
transformative.
these are worth about how much?
So this is worth about 20,000 Ven, which is around $2,000.
Not
So
bad.
the idea is you can exchange your Ven into gold, and then we're looking at like buyback opportunities, so that if you wanted to guarantee the sale, we would buy that gold back at some probably discounted rate. But this is, I think, not the main function of the currency. In September, Ven became the first virtual currency on Thomson Reuters. So it's now on 500,000 trading terminals around the world. So hedge funds, banks, and other FIs, financial institutions, can trade
Is
Ven.
there a trading symbol if somebody wanted to look it up?
.ven.